So I've been getting a lot of questions about Diploma in Law. Just in case you haven't seen my previous video or you're not familiar with Diploma in Law, it is a program equivalent to a Juris Doctor or a Bachelor of Laws, and it is offered by the Legal Profession Admission Board of New South Wales. So I got this question. I am an overseas qualified lawyer based in Western Australia, and I'm thinking of studying the Diploma in Law through the New South Wales Board. Since I'm based in Western Australia, attending the weekend schools would be a little more difficult for me. I'm trying to work out whether they're essential or if studying online is manageable, and how do you find the workload and assignments. First of all, if you're an overseas qualified lawyer, you don't need to take the full Diploma in Law program just to become a lawyer in Australia. Depending on your qualification and depending on which country you're registered in as a lawyer, most likely you're only going to be required to take a few more subjects to practice law in Australia. So first, if you're already an overseas qualified lawyer, make sure that you get your qualifications assessed by the Legal Profession Admission Board so that you know which subjects and how many subjects you still need to take in order to practice law here in Australia. So for example, I met this lawyer from Thailand, and she said she only needs to take 13 subjects to practice law here in Australia. I met this lawyer from the Philippines, and he's only taking 6 subjects to become registered here in Australia. I met this lawyer from Kenya, and she said she's only taking 3 subjects to become registered here in Australia. Now, I am not saying that that is the specific number of subjects you have to take just to practice law in Australia if you're coming from these countries. That will really depend on the assessment of your qualifications by the Legal Profession Admission Board. So you really need to get in touch with them first to have your qualifications assessed. Now, in terms of workload per week, we are given a required set of readings. So for example, for week 7, this is the required set of readings for us. This is the continuation of the required readings for week 7 or topic 7. The Diploma in Law program is only available to residents in Australia, which means you have to be in Australia in order to take the program because it's not meant to be fully online. Although you have the option to join the regular classes online via Zoom, weekend schools are meant to be in person. So if you're living in a different state in Australia or a different suburb which is quite far from Sydney, you have to arrange that. Anyway, the weekend schools is just 2 per term. So you have the schedule beforehand, and that would help you plan your activities and your budget as well. If you need to go to Sydney, book a hotel or an accommodation, plan those things out. There are students in Diploma in Law who are living in different Australian states, and they fly into Sydney whenever there are weekend schools. The tutorials are also online and assignments are also online. As for the examination, you can choose from a number of examination center locations. You don't have to come to Sydney. There are still other options if you're not from Sydney. And as I've mentioned in the previous video, in Diploma in Law, there is only 1 class per week per subject. So if you're taking 2 subjects this term, then that means 2 classes per week. But there are a lot of readings which you don't expect the lecturer to be able to cover because the class is only from 6 to 9 p.m. during weekdays. So that means you really need extra effort to study and understand things that were not taught in class. You can always raise the question to your lecturer or during weekend schools and tutorials.